Hey, it's Foreclosure Girl Boss, and welcome to my YouTube channel where I show investors how to level up and buy these foreclosures like a boss so that they can make money and not lose money. All right, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you've been here before, then welcome back. Today I want to talk to you guys about bidding, bidding on these REOs and the bidding process. All right. So with some of these REO foreclosure properties, you're going to see that the seller has chosen to do what's called a bidding process. And all of their bidding processes are different because the seller is different. And there's so many ways that you can bid. So you have to pay attention to who the seller is, what their bidding process is, and how you bid on the property. Now, the bidding process can be anywhere from you bidding at the property, like you physically showing up to the property and there being someone there to conduct the bids. Usually that's considered an auction. So you have an auctioneer that's there and they auction off the property and you submit your bids there. You may have a seller that has chosen to do online auctions where they're doing it virtually. So you have to know where to show up to do the online auction. And then you have some sellers that will do it at a remote location, like they may do it at a hotel I've seen, or a residence center or something like that, but they may hold it at a certain location and all the investors go there to bid on the property. So again, it depends upon the seller. That would depend upon how their bid process is going to go. And if you found the property in the MLS, then your agent will be able to give you more details about that. If you found the property online, then whatever site that you found that property on, it should give you all the details about bidding on that property. But there's a few key points. There's a few key points I want you aware of. So when you're bidding on these properties, there are a few key things that you need to know as an investor that's get ready to bid on this REO property. There are some things that you need to know. So you need to know when the bidding process starts and when it ends. When does the bidding process start and when it ends? Self-explanatory. You also need to know, where is the auction and the bidding going to take place? Are you going to bid through a portal? Are you going to bid at the property? Are you going to bid online against other investors where you can see it in real time and get a chance to beat their bids out? Like, how does that process work? You need to find that out ahead of time. You also need to find out, do you need to register for this bid? If it's an auction property where they're going to accept investors' bids, typically you need to register in advance for that auction. And if you have a real estate agent, that agent has to register you for that auction. And that agent is going to register for that auction so that they can get paid. So you need to find out, okay, where am I going to go? You need to find out what that bidding process looks like. Is it going to be online? Is it going to be at the property? And you also need to find out, is there a bidder's premium? Is there a bidder's premium? Because a lot of these online auction companies, and even if you bid at the property, if it's an auction, a lot of times they have what's called a bidder's premium, and that bidder's premium is added on top of the purchase price. On top of the purchase price. So if you bid $100,000 for that property, and let's say the bidder's premium is, let's say it's $5,000, then now your purchase price is $105,000. And remember, I said the number one reason that investors lose money when purchasing REO properties is because they don't do their numbers right. If you haven't seen that video, please go back and watch that video. But going to an auction and having to pay that bidder's premium is one of those fees that gets added on to that purchase price. So you got to make sure that you account for that in your budget, because if not, it's going to take away from your bottom line number. Okay? So you need to make sure make sure that you are registering. Make sure that you understand there's a bidder's premium and how much that is. And typically, if there is a bidder's premium, you have to put a credit card on file with that auction company when you register, because they're going to charge your card. So make sure that you're reading all the rules and regulations and navigating the website where the auction is going to be held. And also, if it's in the MLS, the agent give you all the details they can about bidding on that property, because there are so many things that you need to know as an investor to be prepared to be able to bid on that property. Like I mentioned earlier, you need to know about where you need to go. You need to know, can you view the house before you can bid on the property? With some of these auction properties, you can't get inside of the properties to even look at the property before you place the bid on it. And they're sold as is, where is. There may be a tenant in the property, may not. Maybe the property is vacant, maybe it's not. Maybe it needs repairs, maybe it doesn't. So what some of these properties you need to see, are you even going to be able to get inside of that property? Again, you need to know, how you're going to register for that property. You need to know, is your agent going to be able to get paid on that property? If your agent is charging you a commission, then you need to know who's going to pay the commission. Is the seller going to pay it? Some of the auction companies, sometimes they have certain properties where they have a built-in commission that they're going to pay your agent if you bid on the property. And for some of these properties, you're responsible for paying your own agent a commission. So you need to find out from your agent, what their commission is, and you need to find out who's going to pay it. You also need to find out, which this is super important, if it's an absolute auction or not. If it's an absolute auction. And the way that I remember absolute auctions is that they're absolutely going to accept an offer. Some auctions, they'll have a start amount, and it depends upon what type of offers they get in, what type of bids they get, will depend upon if the seller actually accepts an offer or not. So let's say the bidding price starts at $25,000. And let's say the seller knows that they definitely want to get at least $100,000 for the property. Well, if the bids stop at $70,000, they're not going to accept any bids. They're not going to accept any bids because it didn't meet their minimum reserve requirement. It did not meet their minimum reserve requirement. So they're not going to accept any bids. And at some point, they'll probably just put it back up for auction again and try it all over again. Or they may reach out to the investors to see if they can come up some to meet that minimum required bid. But with the absolute auction, and that same example that I just gave, if the house is placed up for auction and it's an absolute auction, if the highest bid is $70,000, they'll just take the highest bid, $70,000. All right. So there are a few key things that you need to know if you're going to bid on these REO properties. And my last tip on bidding on REO properties is, if you're going to do it through the auction, make sure that you've already done your comps ahead of time, and make sure that you have a hard stopping price. I probably didn't say that right. Make sure you have a ceiling. So let's say you know that you should bid any more than $150,000 on this property. You've done all your numbers, and the highest you can go is $150,000. Make sure that you know that ceiling before you go in to bid on that property, because people get in there, they get crazy. And if you're an investor watching this and you've been to an auction before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People get in there and overbid all the time. So know your ceiling and stick to it. Okay, just don't know your ceiling, but stick to it, because the higher you bid over your ceiling, the more it's going to cut into your profit margin. And you may wind up not making any money on that property at all because you bid too high on that property just to get it. Some people get in there and they get caught up in winning the bid versus how much money this property is going to make them when it's all said and done. So don't get caught up in the hype of bidding and winning and outbidding other investors that are there. Have a certain number from your due diligence that you did before you got to the auction. Make sure you have your agent do a CMA for you, giving you an idea of what the homes are selling for in that neighborhood that are very similar to the house that you're looking to buy. Get an idea of your rehab budget. If you can't get in there, hopefully you have a contractor that you can consult with that can give you a worst case scenario on that property so that you can budget for that. Budget for your bidder's premium, budget for commission. So just make sure that you have all your fees and stuff together and your bottom line together when you're going to these auctions and bidding on these properties. And like I said, not every seller that has a bidding period is going to do it by way of an auction. Some sellers have a bidding period, and you're literally just submitting your bid by writing an offer or submitting certain key details about your offer to your agent, and your agent is just submitting those details of your bid to see if you win the bid. So it depends, but like I said, make sure that your agent gives you all the details about these type of properties, give you all the information so that you can be better prepared when you get ready to bid on these properties against other investors. All right, guys, hopefully this video was helpful, talking about bidding on REO properties. And until next time, gosh, I'm just so tongue-tied today, gosh. Until next time, toodles.